Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Raising the Next Generation. I'm Jennifer. I'm a psychologist and I'm the host of the show. And as I said in a previous episode, this is a segment in our safe space arena entire content thing. So we talk about how we can apply child psychology principles to help parents raise responsible kids. And that's why we have this segment, the Raising the Next Generation segment. In these segments, I usually get to chat with our in-house therapist, who is Marylin Kamara. She is a child psychologist, so she is always on the show to teach us one thing or another about raising the next generation. She is about to join the live. As we wait for Marylin to join the live, let's get ready with our notebooks. Yes, there she is. Hi, Marylin.
Hi,
How are you
Jennifer.
today?
Fine,
I'm very
and
well,
you?
thank you. I was just telling everybody to get ready with a pen and a paper, especially parents or anybody who has responsibility of a child, to write something, because they're going to learn something today about effective parenting. And as I said, this is going to be connected to a previous episode we did, the last episode we did on parenting styles. Today we are following that up with effective parenting. So in the last episode, when we spoke about parenting styles, we spoke about the types of parenting styles. We spoke about, first of all, who a parent is, what is parenting. If you don't know those definitions well enough, or if you think you know those definitions, I highly encourage you to go back and listen to that episode to hear something eye-opening about who a parent is and what parenting is. And then we spoke about the parenting styles. We spoke about authoritative, authoritarian, neglectful, and permissive. Yes. So those were the four parenting styles that we spoke about in the last episode. And I highly encourage anybody who has the responsibility of caregiving, especially for a child, whether you're a parent, whether you're a teacher, whether you are a guardian, an elder sibling, somebody who's taking care of kids, especially under 18. I highly encourage that you go and listen to that so that you learn some of the parenting styles that exist and you can measure yourself where you lie. And then if maybe you're not a parent, you're not in any of those categories that I've just mentioned, you can take the time to listen and learn about how are you parented, what styles did your parents use, and what effect did their parenting style have over you and the person that you are as an adult. So I think it was I found that episode to be quite informative, quite eye-opening, and I'm sure everybody who listened got to learn something. So in this episode, we're going to be covering effective parenting. We're going to be bringing together all those things that we spoke about into one place so that you know what to apply in your parenting, and you can learn what exactly is effective parenting and what isn't. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So Marylin, allow me to welcome you to the live. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here. You can say hi to the population, to the audience, to the people who are listening today. Say hi and tell them something small.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer, and I'm excited to be here. I can't wait for us to learn something new today from our episode today. Thank you.
Brilliant. So with everything that you just said, with everything, the introduction I've just made about parenting and everything, maybe we can jump straight into understanding what exactly is effective parenting, because now they're like those four different parenting styles. What exactly is effective parenting, and how do you know when you're doing it? Or how do you know when you're not doing effective parenting? Maybe you can look at it in both directions.
True, very true. Maybe we can look at it actually from that perspective, because now our viewers, I believe they are equipped from our last time, we explored these four types of parenting. And we said you can always learn from each one of them. And because we are raising the future generation, we want to raise a generation that is already informed, a generation that is equipped, and that's why we thought today it will be good for us to, to carry on from where we stopped. Instead of telling them we have 4 types of parenting, and then we're not telling them out of the 4, or rather, which is the best way forward. Yeah. So that is exactly why we are here today, Jennifer. And just to be brief about effective parenting, because I'm sure our audience have heard about it, not once, not twice, from different quarters. So basically, when you hear about effective parenting, it is the ability to interact, engage with a child in such a way that will lead to a child's total development. You remember that from our previous episode? Yeah. So it takes daily effort to connect. This is the word, to connect with a child on a meaningful and personal level. Yeah. That is what now we call effective parenting. The way you interact, the way you engage with that child, is it in a way that will lead to a child's total development, And this takes the daily effort. Yeah. It is deliberate, in short. It is very intentional, because by the end of the day, you want to form that meaningful relationship that we said you should form with the child. Yeah. Yeah. So that is effective parenting in a nutshell. Yes.
Okay, that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. So as a parent, or as a caregiver, somebody who has responsibility of a child, how do you know when you are not being an effective parent? Is it that people point it out to you? Is there a set of things I should look out for if I am a parent, to understand if I'm being effective or not? How exactly do you monitor yourself? Are there tools I should use to monitor myself? How do I know?
I would say this, every parent out there, and I am hoping some of our listeners are parents, or rather some of our audience are parents. The greatest desire of every parent, it is actually to bring up a child who is able to face anything in the world. Yeah, because remember we said the future is uncertain. We don't know what the future has for us. Every parent would want to raise a child who is able to stand out from the crowd, because we know wherever you go as a child and you do something, the first thought that comes to people are like, who is your mother? Like, who is your father? Yeah? People are very quick to jump into conclusion. Whatever you are showing us today has something to do with the way you were brought up. Yeah. However, I would want to say this: raising a child as a parent, it's already tough. It's a tough challenge in our today's world. Yeah, and because as much as a parent, you are trying to be the best that you can. Remember, children are also learning from the other people in the environment, their peers, the culture. They are constantly exerting pressure, never-ending pressure on your children, and sometimes, actually, parents may really feel helpless. Yeah. So sometimes you will find a parent telling you, "I don't know how to do with my son. I don't know how I can deal with my daughter." So that tells you this parent is facing a challenge in issues of raising a child. And by the end of the day, they also measure and gauge their performance. Yeah. And that's when, like you asked, how will someone know, is my child, how am I doing as a parent? So remember we said the parent, it's a silent desire. The parent might not tell the child that I want you to stand out of the crowd. But as a parent, you'll always be able to gauge, how am I performing as a parent, without asking anyone, without asking your children, because it will always reflect on your seed, on your child. Yes.
Okay, that's quite informative. That is quite eye-opening. Are there any specific challenges you think that parents might be experiencing when it comes to being effective parents, especially challenges that are rarely spoken about? There are the regular challenges that people have, maybe financial, so you don't have enough time to commit to your kids, you have to go look for work. Other than the often spoken about challenges, what challenges have you seen in your practice that parents face when they're trying to be effective parents?
For me, Jennifer, from my practice and working with parents and children, all those, what do you call them, challenges, or rather excuses that parents give, I can sum it up in one word. And I normally say it is just ignorance. Yeah? Because unless you know always look at it from point of being a challenge, yeah. But the moment you have the knowledge, the moment you know this is what is required of me, because when you want to listen to parents and you want to tell me the challenges that you have. As a parent, I have different challenges from you as a parent, from another parent. So everybody will bring in their challenges. But by the end of the day, when I analyze these challenges from a group of parents, I have come to realize one thing that stands out is ignorance. Lack of knowledge. And no wonder the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Yeah, so everybody out there, all the other challenges, yes, the financial, the time constraints, there's nothing that is the same for each and every parent. But the bottom line is you're a parent and you have a job to do. So for me, the bottom line and the most barrier to effective parenting is ignorance. Probably that's why we are here today, Jennifer.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. Now that you brought up the concept of ignorance in parenting, what skills would you want to equip parents today with that they can use to combat that ignorance, to learn more about how to raise responsible kids, for them to be effective parents? What are some skills that you can share with us today for effective parenting?
Thank you for that, because there are various skills that someone can apply so that you don't find yourself in the group of the ignorant. Yeah? And we are here to enlighten them today with a few of these skills. And remember, we said there is no a perfect way. From the skills that we're going to discuss today, that doesn't mean this is it. If you come up with a skill that works for you, because by the end of the day, we just want to raise a future generation that will be able to stand out of the line, that will be able to stand out to be counted, you can always add it on to the list that we have tonight. Yeah, and when we're looking at the skills or other techniques or strategies that you can use to be an effective parent, we want to look at it from some dimensions, like we said last time. There are dimensions of effective parenting. Number one, would say, is provision. Everybody knows role number one for a parent is to provide. But what are you providing? Remember, provision is not just about the physical, the food, shelter, and clothing. It goes beyond the normal, yeah? After you give them food, clothing, and shelter, you go beyond that. You want to give them security, you want to give them education, sense of safety, you want to build their self-esteem. All that is in the class of provision. The another dimension is nurturing, because this is a human being that you are raising, and you don't want really to bring up that person as you, even if they are children, they are human beings. So you want to look at that person from an aspect of, this is a unique human being. Yes, the child came from me, but this is a unique human being. So you want to nurture what is inside that person, see into the soul of that child and bring it out. Yeah. Another aspect is guiding. These children, when they come here, they do not come with a manual. Yeah. For me to read from this step, you go to this step, you go to this step. So guidance in every step, right from birth. That's one dimension of parenting. Another dimension of parenting is modeling. You want to be the best example for your child in every aspect. Remember, we said, according to WHO, for one to have total well-being, you have to look at health from a different perspective, different dimension, different components. So you want to model for that child in every aspect, or rather in every component. And so tonight we have a few skills that we can share with our audience, yeah, that can actually help someone so that you don't get stuck in the business of parenting. Number one is just what I've finished with on the dimensions. Be a good role model. In short, walk the talk. Don't just tell them what to do, show them what to do. And guess what? Children are very faithful, as I say, because what they see, they copy and paste. So that is the skill number one that will give you a plus. Model the right behavior. Just be what you want to see. Be the change that you want to see in your child. And then something else, set limits. Set rules. And if you have to set boundaries, you don't do this, don't do that, make sure they are very clear. Don't leave it ambiguous. It is not clear. They don't know whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong, what will happen. And remember to be kind and firm when you are setting limits, rules, and boundaries. One more thing to remember, when you set these rules and limits and boundaries, enforce them. That is your role. Enforce them. Don't just say, Alafu, children will always test waters. They'll say, oh, she said I should come back at 6. So the first time, when your child goes out, she comes at 6 or 5, then you are like, no issues. Remember them, they are testing you. You didn't say anything unless you remind them, oh, we agreed you come back at 6. Now it is 6 or 5. What happened to the 5 minutes? So when you set the rules, the boundaries, the limits, you have to be very kind, very firm, and enforce them. Otherwise, they will keep on pushing the boundaries and testing waters. Number 3, build a relationship. Remember from our definition, we said parenting is not just provision of food, shelter, and clothing. You should be deliberate to build a good relationship with your child. Why? Because this child needs to come back to someone when they go out there, the peers and the world teach them something, but they need to confirm from a credible source. You are the credible source. If you do not have a relationship, they'll not be able to come back to you to ask, oh, so and so told me this, what do you think? Or rather, what is your opinion on this? Yeah. Then something else, as an effective parent, build their self-esteem. Yeah. Self-esteem is very key for children as they grow up. Remember, you want your child to be outstanding. If it is in a classroom, you want your child to be outstanding. People should be able to look at your child and say, that parent has done a great job. They might not come back to tell you, but they will reflect what is inside them. So build up their self-esteem. Another technique, it is to show faith and confidence in that child's ability. Some child, as we said, one dimension is nurturing. So what are you nurturing? Everybody has different abilities, capabilities, different strengths and weaknesses. As a parent, when you see into their soul and you realize this child is able to do this and child B, have faith in that child. Build their confidence and show your confidence as well in that skill. And that is only time that they will be able to do more of whatever it is that they are putting their time and energy into. Another thing, and this is very key because this kept coming up in the 4 types of parenting, communication. Here, in effective parenting, we say make communication a priority, and not just communication, open communication, whereby it is a two-way traffic. Tell me this. Listen, because communication goes together with effective listening. You cannot say and you're like, because I'm in authority as a parent, nikisema unafanya. So in effective parenting, we say let the channels of communication be very open and let there be a room for discussion. Why? Because you want your child to find this as a safe haven, somewhere where they can always come back to you in case they didn't get something that is clear to them. They can always feel safe to come back to you and seek clarification. Then something else. Remember, we said set limits, rules, and boundaries. Be flexible. Be open-minded, yeah? Because sometimes they know something, a thing or two that you don't know. And especially those of us who are parenting in this generation, they know quite a lot. And for you to gain that confidence in your child, you want to be very flexible and open-minded. Remember, we said also show faith and confidence in their ability. There are things that they can teach you that you didn't know. Even from a 5-year-old, you can actually learn from them. So as a parent, don't adopt that stance here of I'm the parent, and once I set the rules, we cannot bend them. So be open-minded and flexible in effective parenting. Another something that is very key is discipline. Discipline, especially in effective parenting, we say you use positive discipline. And what does this mean? It means you be very consistent. Yeah. If you remember in behavior modification, even if you are using punishment, you don't just punish. The child should be able to relate, to associate the punishment and the behavior for that punishment to be effective, So positive discipline and be very consistent. I remember in areas of punishment, we are very quick to punish our children when they are on the wrong side. But how do you punish? Nobody ever goes to details to realize, is there a formula of punishing, If it is a punishment, for it to be effective, remember you have to be kind and firm. There is something that we call immediacy, intensity, and consistency. Because if I do this today and you punish me, then tomorrow I do it and I get away with it, I will not really understand what are exactly your rules. Where do I stop and where do you start? So for those rules, limits, and boundaries to be very clear, remember, the child should be able to associate the discipline, or rather the punishment, with the behavior, so that they can remember, when I do this, this will happen. Yeah, that is classical conditioning, association between a behavior and the outcome, or rather the consequences. Yeah. Then again, in effective parenting, we say love them. Remember, in the 4 types of parenting, there's one that gives all the love without asking for any expectations or demands. But in effective parenting, we say show them love. Love them, but actually show them, And this doesn't mean everything that they ask, you give it to them. This doesn't mean when this child coughs, you answer. No. It means the little things that you actually think they don't matter. For example, just a hug. Sometimes all you need to give your child is just a hug, a pat on the back. And this is very key in terms of love. There are parents who go out of their way. They are working 24 hours. They want their kids to go to the best school, and they have actually given them the best education we can find in this country, or even out of this country. But they forget one key thing. In the name of love. They do that in the name of love. Yeah? There is difference between presence and present. Presence is you being there with them. Doesn't matter the number of hours you are there with them. What it means is the quality of time that you spend with your child. Because remember, I told you, when you ask our parents about challenges, everybody will tell you, I don't have time. Who has time anyway? So what we do, you create time for things that you value. If you value your children, you are going to create time for them. And doesn't mean usiende kazi, don't go to work, you want to sit with your child. No, because by the end of the day, you have to pay the school fees, you have to pay the rent, you have to meet all those needs. Yeah. So this is quality versus quantity. Give your quality time, even if it's 10 minutes of your day, even if it's 30 minutes of your 24 hours, make it quality, because by the end of the day, you bring them laptops, tablets, the best gifts. What they're looking for is your presence. They just want to see you there, play with you for a little bit. Yeah. So love them, but show them through your action. Next point, teach them morals and values very early in life. Yeah. The good book tells us, teach a child the way he should go, and when he grows up, they will never depart from it. I love this one because, like in our introduction, we said, in our modern day parenting, there are a lot of challenges, yeah, because people keep on hearing from their peers, hearing from the culture, what is happening, the patterns of this world. How will you be sure that, remember we said, every desire of a parent to see your child stand out? How will you know that my child, when he goes to high school, he'll be able to stand out? Yeah, this will show from your parenting. If you did effective parenting, you taught them values and morals. What will happen? The values and morals act like their foundation. They go to the world tells them this, that. They learn all these things from the outside world. But by the end of the day, what will save this child is your parenting. Did you teach them the values, the morals very early in life? Because they will also use it like a point of reference. My peers and the world and the culture is telling me this. But the values and morals that my mother taught me, this is what they say. So that is a point of reference for a child. So effective parenting really requires to teach our children morals and values very early in life. And something else here, offer them unconditional love. It's not because when you do this, I'll do this. I will love you when you perform better in school. That love that you give to your child has no attachment. Don't attach it to anything. You behave well, I'll do this. I do this because you are like this. No. Separate the behavior from the person. Make your love to them very unconditional. Give it through guidance, instruction, correction, And when you go give this unconditional love, avoid criticizing them, blaming them, faulty finding mission. Instead, be a parent who is out there to nurture and encourage a child. Something else in effective parenting is taking care of your own needs. Why am I bringing my own needs here now? And we are talking about the child. The reason why I have to bring this in is because parenting can be draining. it can actually drain you. Yeah. Remember, you cannot give what you don't have. If I don't have love, I cannot give love. Yeah. I have to fill up my cup for me to be able to pour from the overflow. So if I am drained, I do not have love, I do not have patience. How do you expect me to give it to my child? So it is very key in effective parenting to take care of your own needs. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you are selfish, like I want to take care of myself first. No. It means just me too. Yeah. Me too. I need some love. And when I love myself and my cup is full, I'm able to pour from overflow. Yeah. Something else as we finish, Jennifer. And this is very key as well, because people will wonder, why does this one come in? Effective parenting, we say, reflect on your own childhood. Why are you taking me back there? Maybe that's what our audience are asking themselves. Why do I have to reflect on my own childhood? Yeah. The reason is we parent from who we are. I love a book written by this guy, Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. The title of the book is What Happened to You? Instead of asking someone, what is wrong with you? It's like, what happened to you? Because now that gives you the permission to travel back from where you're coming from and look at it, and you're like, oh, no wonder when I open my mouth to talk to my child, I just speak like my own parent. You just do it like your own parents do it, unless you come to that awareness. And this is very key. Actually, the last 2 points, they are very key to effective parenting, because these skills will always learn them anywhere, in any school, in any seminar. Those skills will learn. Model behavior, nurturing, guidance, will hear them. But how do you apply that before you do the last 2? Take care of your own needs, and this one of reflecting on your own childhood to know, where am I coming from? Why am I parenting the way I am parenting? Is because of the way I was parented. It's because of what happened to me. Because if I went through a traumatic experience, ACE, advanced childhood experiences, it affected who I am. And remember now, trauma, you cannot see it on my face. Maybe I was a traumatized child and I have never dealt with that. It will always remain in my unconscious mind. And some of these things are sometimes, maybe I was abused, I was neglected. I will not be able to look after my child unless first I solve my own issues. So it is very key. Take care of your own needs and also reflect on your own childhood. Yeah, so those are some of the skills that we wanted to share with our audience today, Jennifer. And as we go on, I want you to give us any input that you have up to that point.
Yeah, you've brought up some very powerful points, very informative points that I think anybody who's listening is going to take away a wealth of value out of them. Some of those points are very, very powerful, and I think everybody should listen to this. When you've mentioned the last part about people looking inwards and realizing that they parent from who they are, that has also made me think hard, because I'm like, it's very possible to see parents repeating the cycles that were done to them in their own childhood or their own parents by the people that brought them up. It's very possible to start repeating that same cycle. I've always thought that also something else that is quite important for our parents to do so that they can be effective parents, and something maybe parents should think hard about as they look inward, is also realizing that, first of all, children are independent individuals that have their own personality that needs to be respected and cultivated. So parents need to learn to avoid seeing their children as mini versions of themselves, as mini projects they need to be working on to convert into themselves. So parents who are mini me, please watch out. Do not mini me your child. Remember, your child is a whole individual with their own personality, with their own characteristics, with their own life ahead of them. And if you turn them into a project, then it becomes very difficult for them to, actually, I think it just creates conflict between you and the child, especially as they grow, because everything is like, it's like you're trying to convert me into something I'm entirely not, but just for your own interest. So I think parents need to think hard about how they can let their children's individuality shine through, even when they're parenting them. That does not mean let your child run wild. It means that you have to be very keen and aware of who your child is and what personality they have, and how you can help them cultivate that personality to become an individual. Something else I think that is important for parents to think about, on top of everything that you've shared, is also especially parents who have multiple kids, to see each child as a different individual from the other. So comparisons, favoritism, those things can become very, very damaging, especially to the children when they are even grown and older. It can create a lot of animosity between the kids, can create a lot of sibling rivalry. It can become the reason why children do not coexist in peace, because they saw favoritism, they saw that antagonism from their parents, and some people being treated better than others. And so they start even struggling with their own self-esteem and thinking, if my own parents could not see value in me, if my own parents did not think that I was worthy, if my own parents needed me to be compared to somebody else, then I honestly am a problem. I honestly am I'm the reason why everything is happening to me. They start blaming their own personhood. So it can become very difficult, especially in cases of where parents are picking sides, where parents treat different children differently. So I think parents also need to think about that even as they listen to this conversation today, as a part of effective parenting. It's very important that they do so. Last but definitely not least, I think parents have a role to help their children learn emotional regulation. Because if the child cannot regulate themselves when they are even in your presence, when they are away from your presence, when they are in their own little worlds, they're going to struggle too much than they need to. So parents need to learn how to regulate their emotions so that they can learn how to teach their children how to regulate their emotions. And I think when you're emotionally regulated, it's easy to handle most things in life, because you do not have the extra burden of dealing with emotions on top of the problem that you have. So parents, are called to you guys, think hard about learning emotional regulation, the skill of emotional regulation. That does not mean that you have to avoid every emotion, you have to fight every emotion. That means learning distress tolerance, teaching your kids distress tolerance, helping them learn that not everything needs to be fought, and feeling your emotions, and you're feeling your feelings. That's the word for it. Feeling your feelings does not mean that you do not have control. So yeah, I think that those are important points to add to what you've already shared, which is already very, very powerful. So thank you very much for sharing that entire, yeah, that has been really, really good. Thank you so much, Marylin, for that. I don't know if you want to react to that before I ask the next question, my second to last question. I don't know if you want to react to anything that I've just said.
I was just listening to what you had there. That is very key as well. Because remember, good parenting skills are based on knowledge of how children grow and develop. And you brought it quite well, yeah? That each child is unique, you know? And as parents, even if you have 10 of them, comparison, we keep on telling parents, don't compare this child B and child A. You're not able to do this and your brother is able to do that, because that will kill their self-esteem. So it is very key that you brought in that aspect. In effective parenting, you take each one as a unique person with their own abilities, with their own talents, and you just nurture that, without comparison. Because this, if you keep on comparing them with one another, do you know they grow up in a space whereby they will never feel good enough, because they are used to so-and-so is better than you. You can do this and so is able to do this. Number one, you kill their self-esteem. And number two, even when they have done their best, in fact, sometimes they do something good, you congratulate them and they are indifferent. They are like, really? Do you mean me? Because they are used to so much of being put down and being put in a place whereby they don't feel good enough. They actually feel like, I am the source of all the problems in this family. And sometimes even when things happen in that family, they try to take the blame. It's because of me. In fact, I had a child who told me, my parents separated, but I think I'm the cause. So when you dig deeper, or rather when you travel back in the life of that child, you realize maybe the child was put in a position whereby you're not good enough, you're not as good as so-and-so. So that is very key. Comparison, especially between siblings, as parents and now as effective parenting, is something that we need to put off. At least for our next generation, we want a generation that is confident, that have a positive self-concept. And this will only happen when we are enlightened as parents. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that input. It's gives it more legs to stand on. So thank you for that input. I once had somebody say, I don't know if I've had this actually or read it, but it's something I have had in my mind. So I probably read it somewhere or had somebody say that no matter how well you raise your children as a parent, you will definitely fail your children in one way or another. And so, with that said, I'm wondering, how do you what message do you have for parents to get them to reconcile the fact that they can learn all these skills, they can do their very best, they can give their children everything that they ever needed and wanted, they can meet their children's needs and teach them all these things that you're talking about, they can learn all these skills to become effective parents, but then there's still the possibility that at the end of the day, when their children are grown-ups and they will look back and be like, in one way or another, my parents damaged me or hurt me or did something that ended up not being beneficial for me. So how do we help parents realize that these skills are not to build a perfect parent? They are just tools to help in your journey as a parent, and that it is okay for you to accept that you might fail your children, and that does not make you a bad parent all the time. When you've done everything you could potentially ever do to give your children the best life you could give them, then there's an aspect that you have to leave to, I guess, the Lord. I don't know how to put it. So what message do you have for people to reconcile those two conflicting messages in their minds as parents? What would you say to them?
A very key point that you have brought up, because I hear it all the time. And even me, myself, as a parent, sometimes I feel like, oh, I don't think I've done my best, you know. But this is a reminder to all parents out there. Remember one thing, you don't have to provide all the solutions. You are not the tree of knowledge, neither are you God. So you don't have to provide all the solutions, you know. And you don't need to beat yourself up, you know, even when that child, because now we are raising a generation that face the parents. I've seen quite a number, they come and face their parents and, you know, they want to confront them. So just remind yourself, actually, I don't have all the solutions. Remember we said parenting does not come with a manual. So come, I didn't read it anywhere. It didn't come with a manual. I didn't follow the manual to the letter. That means it is not a master. I didn't have to provide all the solutions to their problems. Another thing, I want to remind parents that you don't need to have all the answers to their questions. Yeah? To be a good parent, you don't need to have all that. Sometimes it's okay not to know. And actually you feel comfortable telling your child, I am not sure. In fact, it's better to let them, I don't know, instead of telling them the wrong thing, or rather lying out to them, because when you lie to them, they'll come back and hit you. They will come and tell you, you lied to me, this and that. They will confront you. This generation, they're aliens, my friend. They'll come back. So you don't need to have all the answers, and it is okay for you to be a good parent. You don't need to have all the answers, yeah. And an effective parent doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, there is no one who is perfect. No, our parents were not perfect. Even us, we're just trying to do our best. We are not perfect. And one thing also I remind parents, even the child is not perfect either, you know. So whichever way, when you're setting your expectation, just keep that one in mind, that you do not have to provide all the solutions. It is okay not to have all the answers, and to be an effective parent, you don't need to be perfect, because no one is perfect and no one will ever be perfect. It's nothing like perfect in this world. Even the world itself is, look at the map of Africa. Does it even have a shape that you can name? No. What does that tell you? The world is not perfect, you know. When you look at the world is round, you know. If it was perfect, we could have sharp corners, you know, square, a triangle, a very, you know. So you don't need to be perfect to be a good parent. And probably as I conclude, Jennifer, I would love to tell our parents that this is good to notice that parenting is a full-time job, because sometimes I hear parents say, I can't wait until my baby gets to 13 years, at least they'll be out of my... Let me tell you, it is full-time. They will always remain your children. Even when they get married and they have their own kids, they will always remain your kids. And remember we said one dimension of parenting is guiding. They will always come back for some guidance. And even if they don't come, you will find yourself guiding them indirectly, because you don't want to be told that you are getting into their issues. Yeah, you're the one who is spoiling their marriage. But you'll find a parent still guiding a grown-up child who is 30, getting married with their own families. And if we had a manual, everyone would buy, including myself. So remind yourself, there are no laid down steps that you have to move from A to B to C. Whatever you do, just remind yourself, you just want to do the best that you can. Yeah. And I want to remind our parents that it takes deliberate effort to be an effective parent. You cannot sleep and wake up to be an effective parent. You cannot tell me, I have gone through so many seminars, I have read so many books, and yet my kids, I'm still not yet an effective parent. No. No. You just have to be intentional about it, deliberate about it. You can't just go with the flow. That's what I mean. To be an effective parent, you have to set your mind in it, set your heart in it, set your body in it, give it your best, yeah, and be deliberate about it. Yeah, so that's
that's a very powerful message. And parents, listen and learn. Hold your ears and listen and learn that effective parenting does not equate to perfect parenting. Nothing is perfect in this world. Yeah, and parents, if you ever find yourself as the reason your child is in therapy, don't beat yourself up too much. Remember that at that time, what is needed from you is a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion, a lot of listening and understanding why your children feel that you feel them in one way or another. It's not a time to defend yourself. It's not a time to be like, I gave you everything. You should be more grateful. Yeah, so think about it that way. Thank you so much, Marylin, for so much insight, so much wisdom, for sharing your time with us, for sharing your knowledge with us. We highly, highly appreciate it. And I am sure any parent who's listening has gotten something out of this conversation. Anybody who's listening who has parents has also learned something. And yeah, I'm super glad that we've been able to talk about this effective parenting topic and been able to share the wisdom that we've got. As we come to the end of the conversation, I wonder if you have any resources you want to share with our parents today, or anybody who is looking to learn more about effective parenting.
Thank you, Jennifer. After our talk tonight, I would refer our audience to a certain book that I really love. I've worked with this book. The reason why I love this book, I'll tell you why before I refer them to that resource. It is because it looks at parenting from a godly perspective, because remember at the beginning I said it's not easy to be a parent in our world today. And for you, sometimes you just need to go on your knees and call on higher power. Like, God, I give up. I've done my best, but I'm still not getting it right. So I need God, me and you, we need to collaborate in parenting this child. So this particular book, it's called Effective Parenting in a Defective World. Effective Parenting in a Defective World. It is by a guy called Ingram. So our audience out there, if you are looking forward to learn more about effective parenting with a touch of godliness, this is the book to look out for. It is all over the place. You can find it in Amazon. Most of the online stores, you can find it there at a reasonable price. Thank you so much.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that resource. And thank you for everybody who has been able to listen in. And thank you so much, Marylin, for coming to the show. Yeah, this has been brilliant. This has been awesome. I don't know if you have any final remarks before we end this conversation, and if you have anything you want to add to all the wonderful messages you've shared today. I don't know if you can take the time to do that.
Maybe in a word or two to conclude, I would want to tell our parents, as much as it is not easy to parent in our current world, I want to encourage them tonight that it is doable. Other people have done it, so you can do it. That's my parting shot. It is not easy, yes. I'm not promising you that it's going to be easy, but I'm going to promise you one thing, that you can do it because it is doable, because it has been done before, and you have the potential. You can be the best parent that we are looking out for in this generation. Yes,
awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Asante sana, Marylin. Thank you so much, everybody who has been able to join the live. Thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you so much for for sharing that wisdom with us. We appreciate it, and I'm sure anybody listening has gotten a lot of value out of this conversation. Thank you to the audience members who have been able to join: Nancy, Dan Mwangi, Monkisa. Thank you so much, guys, and everybody else. If you're watching this after it's been recorded, hello, and see you again next time in another episode. Look out for our lives. We usually do this almost every week, unless there's a change in schedule. We often do this every week. So come back again next week so that we can talk about another topic on effective raising the next generation. As I said, we use this segment of this platform to talk about how to use child psychology concepts to raise responsible children. So this is this segment is for anybody who has any responsibility over children, parents, teachers, guardians, caregivers of any kind. This is the place where you learn more about how to raise responsible kids. With that said, thank you so much, Marylin. I will see you again next week with another topic. And everybody else, have a wonderful evening. Take care of yourselves and take care of your mental health, and have a good one. Kwaheri.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.